Certainly the fossil fuel industry is very powerful. And just like the tobacco industry, I mean, the tobacco industry are still at it after 5 decades. They still believe they've got a case. So I think we've got to regard the fossil fuel industry as, well, I don't know if we could call it a public enemy number one, but
yes,
they are so powerful, and they have an input into the power makers, the decision makers. And that's where we just have to, well, we're having trouble in breaking that nexus now. Where does that leave the health industry and the health factors? Well, we're still, the progress of reduction in greenhouse gas emissions is still under the control in Australia of the federal government, in a sense. In one sense, but in the other sense, communities are taking the action, states are taking the action. So maybe we can just bypass the paralysis of the federal government. And let's hope we can, and we can bypass the influence then of the fossil fuel industry.
Someone who's really an advocate for that, and who has also understood this thing about the fossil fuel industry, certainly, is Bill McKibben. He's talked about this, how long? 30 years or something like that, since he wrote his first book. Which was one of the first books, I think, that really mentioned climate change as a threat 30 years ago. He came to Australia and he's been giving speeches in various towns. He went on a bit of a tour, and you went to see him, is that right?
That is right, Mick. Yes, both Monika and I were there. Certainly very inspirational. He also talked about, one of his major points was the power of money and the fossil fuel industry. So when we all know what the problem is, it is a matter of how we deal with it. Have you got anything to add there, Monika?
Well, I think that a big part of his movement, so the 350.org movement, which he co-founded, is inspiring individuals to make a change. And so instead of waiting for our governments to move their money away from the fossil fuel industry, looking at what we can do with our own super funds and with our institutions that we are a part of to encourage their money movement away from fossil fuels. So I think that, he really encouraged that kind of the drive from the public to create change.
Yeah, he also talked about or encouraged people to do something before they left the hall. That was quite different. So either of you want to have a go at that one?
Well, he did encourage us to write to our parliamentarians. So everyone, it was quite amazing. Everyone sat around and wrote these letters.
Oh, you did right there?
Yes, right there.
You weren't allowed to leave until...
Well, we had to leave to go to one of our committee meetings, but yes, the others stayed there and wrote there.
But let's hear what Bill McKibben had to say, because we actually called him last week when he was here, and I think he shared some of the stuff that he has told you on that evening. He shared it with us, and now we can share it with our listeners. Here's Bill McKibben.
For a green, clean, sustainable Geelong. The Sustainable Hour.